Welcome to On the Couch, the podcast where real conversations meet real change. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, and join us as we dive deep into the conversations that matter most to Black and Brown communities. Hosted by Dr. Diamond and an incredible lineup of co-hosts, On the Couch brings you raw, insightful, and empowering discussions, from mental health and wellness to entrepreneurship, life insurance, healthcare, and everything in between. Our mission is simple: to educate, uplift, and create space for conversations that need to be heard. Whether you're here for practical advice, motivation, or just a dose of inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the things that shape our lives, our futures, and our communities. This is On the Couch, where we keep it real, keep it relevant, and keep it moving. Let's get started.
Good morning, everyone. It is April 4th, and this is a beautiful day outside. You know, I cannot wait till summer comes because I'm a summer person. But listen, we got a hot topic today. It's why do relationships feel like they come with a price tag? You know, I have been wanting to talk about this, and actually Dean Geronimo, who comes in and drop into our show from time to time, I asked him, you know, I need to come up with a real hot topic for our podcast. And he said, you know what? I don't know if you really want to do this, but, you know, I think this is a good conversation to have. So I have seen a lot of clips, and there's some clips that we're going to discuss today. It's about 3 clips that we have here. And these 3 clips are going to be examples of what we're going to be talking about today. Again, why do relationships feel like they come with a price tag? They shouldn't, but a lot of the times that's what we see. But before we get into our discussion, I have Miss Toya waiting in the wings, and we're going to catch up with her about what's going on in the butterfly room, because I know she's doing very well with that. I'm very proud of her. I have been on her show. I'm one of her co-hosts on the show, but I'm actually going to bring her in because she can't wait to talk about this topic also. These are like burning topics that we talk about like on the back end when we're off of the show. So we're always talking about what we're going to talk about next. So, hey, we are going to delve into this discussion. I see Mark Lee is also in the wings as well. I think Dean is going to drop in too. So, it's good to have a male perspective. And, I'm grateful for the gentlemen that, jump in and talk and have these conversations. So without further ado, let me bring them on in. So let's just catch up what's going on with them. Hey, Toya. Hey, Mark. How y'all doing this morning? I hope all is well. So we got a hot topic. Mark, you see our topic? The tagline says, why do relationships feel like they come with a price tag? So Dean Geronimo actually was suggesting this topic. So I'm hoping that he drops in with us. Other than that, we're going to hold it down regardless. Okay. But anyway, Toya, let's start with you. What's going on with the butterfly room? Get us up to date. Invite some people into your butterfly room from here on the couch. So what's new?
Well, good afternoon. Well, actually, good morning. When I tell you, life has a way of showing up for you when you don't know what's going to unfold like that. Yeah. And I just know that numbers, when you're a person who just the nerd for numbers, everything equates. And sometimes I tell folks, as I move forward in life, remove the person's name or face. It's the action. And we're forgetting about that. And as we're in Holy Week and as a believer, I'm just going to tell you that the 7 last words of Christ, the first one's forgive them because they know not what they do. Mm-hmm. So what we do in the butterfly room is to discuss those topics. As April stated, we work together collaboratively and we do a lot of talking. So what I do is I take my expertise, she takes her expertise, and then we put it out to you. So, here you can catch us every other Saturday at 11 a.m. and the butterfly room is every other Friday at 8. So this week upcoming, we have Marlon E. Curtis II. He was on the couch. Now, as he unfolds, and this young gentleman, he's the one that put some fire under my butt in his book, 31 Reasons Why You Need to Bet on Yourself. So he's going to come and he's going to let us unfold what's going on with him and his new platform. So we hope to see you on next week, April the 10th on Friday. And right now I have time to regroup. I just had ACL repair surgery. When I tell you I needed this quiet, when I tell you I'm a doer, I'm not a talker, I do. So right now, this is the new thing is my butterfly has a new acronym. I'm not going to tell it for her, but you need to come to the butterfly room to figure out what this new acronym is for 2026. But whereas we know then those who are believers is the year of manifestation. And over here in the butterfly room, we want you to become. BECONE. Become. Because a butterfly does that in 4 stages. So thank you. And I cannot wait to talk about this because some of the clips that I do put out also talk about what we're going to dive into. How you doing, Mark? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you two ladies doing? Everything is wonderful. As you can tell, the Hayti is closed today, so that's a good thing. I'll have to go there tomorrow for Easter service that this church is having. So still storefront church got like a small congregation, but I did promise them I would be there so they could have their Easter service on Sunday and all along those lines. But other than that, we've been shut down since about Friday. So for the Good Friday and Easter Monday. And of course, we'll come back Tuesday because we'll actually have regular business hours because it's been a minute since we've had regular business hours because of transition. And we're still going through some of those transitions as well. So just like people can have transitions, relationships, and all of that, businesses can have transitions as well, and all along those lines. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. A buddy of mine came down from California. Y'all may remember the film This Christmas. He's in town visiting because his family is in Hillsborough, but he was the producer of that film along with Mekhi Phifer and everything like that. So we're longtime buddies, me and Ronnie Warner. So he popped in and said hello, and he's here. I think he said till the whatever Thursday or Friday is. So yeah, he's got that going on and everything like that. But it was good catching up with him. We hadn't caught up with each other in a while, and he's open to do some work with the young people and get them engaged in the film world here in North Carolina, but also up and down the East Coast and other places as well, because he's had the pleasure of making a lot of money or making some pretty decent money in the film world. So he wants to show folks how it is a business, and it's not just about the entertainment side, but it's the business side as well. So he wants to show them how they can actually go in and make a deal and make a successful deal and all along those lines. So he's talking to us at Hayti about some things that he could see us doing and some other things as well. But yeah, definitely lots going on. There was a woman from the other side of the fence, a white woman that is looking at doing some stuff similar, but in the music business. And I think her company is called Boom and all along those lines. So it was definitely an interesting week and everything like that. And then you'll get a kick out of this, April, as well as Toya and everything like that. But I was downtown, and we have all kinds of events because a buddy of mine, we go out about once a month to grab a bite to eat at some different restaurant or something like that, just to hang out and to catch up with each other. He's married and got a real estate photography stuff that he does a lot of. His wife is a real estate agent, Martin Freed, and everything like that. But when we were downtown, we ran into a bunch of folks dressed up in animal outfits because, yes, the furries are in town. So the furries are in town here in North Carolina and everything like that.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
You watch TV shows and stuff like that.
But we need some humor in the world because it's real stiff right now. I feel like I have a turtleneck.
Yeah. But it was crazy seeing people dressed up as squirrels and foxes and cats and dogs and everything else.
Did you get any pictures? Next time, don't just tell us. You need to show and tell. I don't want any.
Well, I did get 2 pictures, and I may go back down there this weekend, like maybe either today or tomorrow, because I think they're here until Sunday because they started on Thursday and they were there. But I did catch 2 pictures really quickly as me and Martin were driving away and everything like that. But yeah, I might have to go down there either today or tomorrow and catch some pictures of those lovely furries so that y'all can see how these people are dressed up in these outfits.
Wow.
But it's crazy. Somewhat related to your topic, but not totally related to your topic. But I did want to bring this up just really quickly, coming up to the sports world and everything like that. But is it just me, or do some people not know how to handle losing, and particularly losing to an African-American woman? Because Gino was making a lot of excuses and all along those lines. And I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute, you lost. You got outplayed, your girls got outplayed and everything like that. But this whole mess about him talking about there's supposed to be like a half-court handshake, that he was upset that she didn't show up. And even though everybody saw that right at the beginning of the game, he definitely shook his hands and everything along this line. So this whole half-court thing, and this whole thing about the ripped jersey, which is clearly you can see that she ripped her own jersey and everything like that. But it sounds like Gino might have a problem with
a distraction. That's a distraction, Mark. It's just a distraction.
Yeah, because he might have a problem with sisters. He might have a problem with sisters in control and everything like that. That's
a lot of people do. A lot of people have problems with sisters. And the thing is, the truth be told, that we are better athletes. And we do show sportsmanship, as in, shaking people's hands, greeting them appropriately. But then they get mad and then they storm off. But then if something happens,
a tantrum,
right? If one of ours decide, okay, I lost. Well, I forgot the young lady name. She's also a tennis player as well. Is it Anika? I don't want to mess her name up, but she was
a famous tennis player.
Yes, she was upset about losing, but she took it out on her tennis racket. She didn't know no one was watching, but guess what? She said, I have all the right in the world to be upset. It wasn't me taking it out on anyone. I took it out on my racket and I was upset about it. And she went about her business. But anything we do, the world is so hypersensitive to us. It doesn't matter what we do. If we say boo,
that was proper anger management. Management. That was proper. What she did was proper in her private thing, because Big Brother, social media is watching. I am actually meaning that. And she took an anger management course and paid for it. She got her money. Thank you, young lady, for going to a separate environment and letting out your frustration. She gets an A++.
Right.
She definitely gets an A+ and everything like that. And that's my thing with Gino and everything like that, because he did not do that in the proper sense. He said, and calling out, and like you said, it was a distraction, and he was trying to take away from what was a successful game, and Dawn Staley outcoached him. So if you get outcoached, you just got outcoached, and he got outcoached, and his players got outplayed and everything like that.
Deflecting, transference, counter transference, all those psychological terms that you can
all of those things,
because people don't want to look in the mirror. And I don't want to I'm gonna just jump this out. This is where I'm at. When you have a lot on your plate, this is our plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's on there. When you take everything off of it, doesn't have to go with you. Everything changes. Yeah. So I was having a conversation with someone, and I told people when I'm doing group therapy, these folks, their life has become unmanageable. I said, you know what? In order for you to heal and get back to your kids, DYFS cases, you have to take care of yourself. Because there was one case, it was a Caucasian woman with an African-American man. DYFS took her children because they were mulatto. Now I had the same scenario, similar women in the group, black and black. Why didn't she get the same provisions? Right? Same people. Take their color off, take their name, and just person A, person B. You would think the outcomes would both be the same. It wasn't. So this is when my eyes opened up in a behavioral health center. I said, okay. Went to the court with DYFS, wrote my letter, was up in there in the courtroom with the white lady. The reason why she could not keep her kids because she chose to be with the black man. Not in their time frame. It broke my heart for her to lose her children. So they moved around. They're still together. Because I see her on social media. They moved somewhere and they have a child together, but their older two children were adopted away. Does that make sense? Because of the choice they made. So now let me get back to my point. I wanted to get down to the most way when you can feel it, have empathy. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you get up, you have what's on your plate. A person's dealing with that. Do they care about anything else in their life? That you made an accusation, did you know? No, they're going to deal with what's on their plate. So what I'm saying now is when you get up, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization means you know who you are, whose you are, and what your purpose is. Mm-hmm. Once you do that, you tune out all the distractions, all the noise, and you can live freely and have peace. That's where I'm at right now. That's what the butterfly room is going to give you. So now when someone does that in their private, their own home to release their stuff, why are we so nosy? We all live in glass houses. Why do you need to approach that person? Why do you need to do something? Because you're miserable with your own life. And that's what's going on in America right now. I'm going to just lay that. I have more to come on that topic. It will be handled. Yes.
I agree. Yes, I do feel before we shift gears, I watch Godfrey like every day, and he has these little clips about white people approaching black people who are minding their own business. And then when they get the response, they don't expect that, right? And what I said today, because I was talking to my sister this morning too, and we were just talking about also the climate. I really believe that, with people having the fear of ICE, removing people from the United States and not thinking and not empathizing, like you said, Toya, with these people and their stories. Many of them are running away from the dictatorship of their countries. Treason for them is death for them. And
but they're
coming
property.
here,
They're considered property. Imagine you are someone's property. Imagine that.
Exactly. So the thing is, when they come here, they are coming here for a different life and a different way of living. But when you have someone sitting in, the DC thinking that he's some type of king or something, and it's just harmful for everyone. And yes, he's dealing with them now, but we're up on deck. But the problem is we're not the same people that was back in the 1800s. We're not the same people that's in the 60s. We're in a whole different climate now where you have gangbangers that will fight you back. You also have us, the black elite. We're not going to sit here and go into your fields. Not the fact that we have worked so hard to become who we are. And how dare you insult us?
Just like that piece, it says, my people that we have forgotten. Those people who were hanged for their beliefs, my people who we have forgotten. That day, a slave started a rebellion that enlightened every heart and mind. I can't remember the speech, but that was something, one of the things for Martin Luther King, that we had those pieces. It was like you were going down a inn. And one of the brothers that Ian Walker, he was someone who would even do the piece for the I Had a Dream speech. That's part of my history. So now when I say I would love for that to come back, but that was when we went to the State Theater in New Brunswick every year. So those are the things that kept it fresh. But if we get rid of these books and everything, where is that? I know that. All the songs, you start out with the Negro National Anthem. So the reason why we're going to continue to speak, because we know the story.
Yeah.
Think about it. If we continue to mix the races, someone's not going to want to have that conversation in the bedroom, in the kitchen table, or wherever, right? It shrinks us. Did you see that movie Get Out? You saw that movie Get Out, right?
Yeah.
And that just came to my mind. Lord, thank you. And when you think about that, they wanted our exterior. And I thought that, and I happened to watch that this week. I said, what's going on, God? Or whoever's out.
But you know what, Toya, that is real though.
It is.
They take our organs and things that happen when we come up missing. This is the reason why. Go ahead, Mark. What did you want to say?
No, I'm going to add something to that, because one of the other events that we had this past weekend, and I know that y'all are fans of this gentleman that I'm getting ready to mention, but he has written a book called The First 8, but we had the pleasure, I believe it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, of having Representative Clyburn come to the Hayti and everything like that. So Representative Clyburn was there, and he's from South Carolina. The First 8 is actually the 8 congressmen that were there doing Reconstruction and everything like that, because he was actually the 9th one and everything like that. But he was breaking it down how even in the Reconstruction era, they were facing a lot of the playbook that Trump is using for that whole notion of the Project 25 and everything like that. So this is not a new playbook. This is an old playbook that they've been using for a while. So he brought this up, and he also mentioned that there was another brother. I think his name was Robert something. It might have been Robert Clark, but he was an orator, kind of like Frederick Douglass and everything like that. And it's actually he that did more of the conversation with Abraham Lincoln that got us into the whole notion of freedom and everything like that, because apparently he was one of those first 8 and everything like that. So it was just interesting to hear some of these stories that I had not heard before, but he was definitely, he might be getting up there in age, because Mickey Michal, who's one of our retired representatives and everything like that, is 95. And I think Clyburn said he's 85, but definitely these folks are still having lots of wisdom that they are willing to share with the young people. So it was a book signing event that he was at, and it was good to see him out there. And I think he's traveling around. I know he had gone to Raleigh, which is our state capital. He'd also gone to Greensboro to the Civil Rights Museum down there, and I think he was having some other book signings in, of course, South Carolina, where he's from, and I think he might even be coming up north to where y'all are. But yeah, he's done a variety of these book signings to get the book out there, because a lot of people don't know this history of those first 8.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, we're going to shift gears here and really delve into our topic, because I think we got some people wondering and saying, hey, you know what? This is very interesting. So it is an interesting topic. So what we're going to do is we're going to be watching 3 different clips. They're short clips, but it's going to give us the opportunity to reflect on what we are seeing. And I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there. I am going to give my critical feedback on both genders, depending on what I'm seeing. And you all can agree or disagree, and I'm talking about our OTC viewers, because they may see something different. Their perspective is going to be different. So I wanted to put my disclaimer out there of, you may not agree with what I'm going to be talking about, but this is why it's a discussion. So again, here's what we're going to be looking at. Think about this. When someone asks a partner, what are you going to do for me? What do you think they're actually asking for emotionally? So do you think it is something that they're asking for on an emotional level? So let's just take part of that question before we
I already know what that is.
So why do relationships feel like they have a price tag today? Why does it feel like that?
Okay, I'm going to just say to you, I'm not saying my family are pimps or anything like that, but the men in my family are old school. Basically, they're men. Men want to be able to take care of you and all of that. My aunt told me growing up, don't accept no wooden nickels, don't do et cetera, because she had all brothers. So what happens is a woman that gets talked about or something, usually sometimes it may be that they are a challenge. I have seen that, on the back end for women. Why would a man say something like that? Now, then you can hear other women say, well, the women that do it, they don't talk about them. But when it comes to a price tag, I was reared to say that, you know what? It's a part of courting and dating. It's an honor to do that. Now, some women younger, they're using because sex sells. So what about the women who are single? I am noticing that when the ladies say the dating pool has pee in it, because I call them Pop-Tarts. The Pop-Tarts out here pop up with their bodies, can't cook, can't do this, whatever floats your boat. I am not in competition with those women because I know who I am, but it affects the women. So what ends up happening, the women who have it together, they end up being a sugar mama. They end up doing stuff for that. So I sometimes have, been a person of empathy, and if someone in need, I may help a man, because at this point, the men in my family have always took care of it. It hasn't been that way. So then when I came out to the world, then you get used. So I have a lot of things to look, as well as I heard people on the couch and people who went to jail because of relationships, and women who stole from men, because I work with parolees and probationers. Okay. So when I tell you there was a check fraud, I saw a lot of those people in the same case, and I had to read the newspaper to kind of get an idea. But those folks had to come in because of legal problems where I worked at that time. So I can go down many rabbit holes for that topic.
Okay. Mark, what you think about that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people are too caught up in the commercial side of things. I've talked about this before on this show and other things along those lines, because it's whole notion of a price tag and everything like that in that sense. So I'm interested to see how these videos play and all along those lines, because I do know that sometimes, even in my own life, people have wanted to know whether you got that doctor's degree, that lawyer's degree, or whatever other degree that they might be thinking that you need to have behind your name and everything like that. And you got some people, and I'm not knocking, people got a right to like whatever car they want and whatever house they want, but you have some people that are overly concerned about you having that Porsche or that Jaguar or that Benz, and the Benz is not what makes the man or the woman, or they want you to have that mansion house and all along those lines. And we know that even in prosperity ministries and everything, sometimes people got more houses than they got sense and everything like that, because you're sitting there going like, you can only live in one house. Maybe if you're bi-coastal, you might need 2 or 3 and everything like that. But in terms of where you live in, you only live in it one at a time. So a lot of times people have more than they need in terms of their material needs and everything like that. But they are too caught up in the materialistic items and everything in that space.
Yeah. Agreed. So to piggyback off of what both of you are saying before we watch the first clip, I feel like yes, relationships have now come with a price tag, and it's heavy on the men wanting the men to do all of these or products. So, for example, I was watching TikTok the not last night, what Thursday night. And it was a woman and her boyfriend. They are actually in a beauty supply place, right? So she's picking up, she told him, I'm going to stop here real quick. They got out, went in there. So you don't see them walking in, but what you see is the after effect of what's happening. So now they're at the cash register. The lady must have said this, all of what she was buying was over $600. What she was buying was hair. And he said, who's paying that? She said, you are. You need to go ahead and pay. It's $600 and something. And she went ahead and demonstrated an attitude like he owed her or something. But what gets me is that when you come to the table, what are you coming with? What agreements did you make prior in the relationship where it feels like, okay, if he says to you in his sound mind, I'm going to take care of you. It doesn't matter what you want, I'm going to do it. But if this is a man who did not agree to this, he did not agree to these large price tags of $600 for this. I want this Gucci bag. I want to go to the Prada but do you have that in your own bank account? That's what I'm saying. You have women that are not working, not doing anything. They're sitting at home and they're looking for a particular type of men. Again, Mark said it, successful men that are successful, and then they're going to ride their coattail. Now, here's the thing. There are women that's doing it too, but I see now the women are doing it a lot to the brothers and want them to just give them everything like they are owed. And what you said, Toya, about those that, they don't even cook anymore. They don't take care of their homes. What they want to do is just they're made up and, want to be fixed up and then taken care of because now they have this body that they decided to put together. And now they want the brother he already paid for it. Now he got to pay for it even more. So, right.
April, that's just crazy. April, I was laughing because and this was decades ago and everything like that. But I remember, and we're still friends. I hear from her every once in a while and everything like that. But just to your point and everything along those lines, I remember an ex that I was dating probably 10, 15 years ago, something like that and everything like that. But I remember we were going by the mall and everything like that. And, most malls have different kinds of shops and everything like that. And like I said, we hadn't got to that point of even discussing long-term relationships and everything like that. But to your point, I just found it funny that you were trying to maneuver me to the diamond shop and everything along those lines.
She was checking your temperature, Mark. What that was is, on a female perspective, she was seeing how serious you were. So were you serious about her? Yes or no?
Like I said,
were you serious? Answer the question. Were you serious about her 15 years ago? Yes or no?
I was seriously considering a relationship, but I was turned off by that motion. So that
wait. So let me
see what you're saying, but I was turned off by that.
Can I get him, Dr. Diamond, please?
Go on.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So this is the thing for the listeners, because I think that I hear this a lot. Dr. Diamond has heard this a lot. So we're going to tell you from a female's perspective. How long were you dating her when you were at the mall?
We've been dating for about probably 6 months to a year.
6 months to a year.
All right. Yeah. And in your conversations, this is what we asked. In those conversations, did you ever discuss what you plans for marriage, relationship? Did y'all have that conversation?
We had not had that conversation.
Okay. So if you have not had that conversation, ladies, do not turn the men off in the mall. If y'all have not had that conversation before you got to the mall, look and see what he gonna do.
Yeah,
that's what we mess up. And I try to tell everybody on the couch,
we mess up.
You have to have that question. Not in the thing they're gonna think you're crazy and they think you just trying to do. In your heart, he's showing you, but sometimes you gotta pump the brakes. So what my big Nigerian sister told me, Toya, you need to be no longer in a habit of opening doors that are not open for you.
No, that makes a lot of
sense.
sense.
I said, what? She said, yes. You don't go through no doors that wasn't open. So Mark, let's test this on this thing. We're gonna test this out. Did you open the door for marriage for her to even think that?
Well,
yes
that's what I was going to do.
No, just answer the question. Yes or no.
Wait, he's getting ready to. Hold on.
Answer the question now. To be fair and everything like that, it was because I've dated a couple of them and everything like that. And I think, well, you would fit in that game category. Now, to be fair, she was a single mother. The child is now, like I said, 15 years ago, so the child's an adult now. But the child at that time was like 10 or 11. Now, one of the things that women will do, and y'all know this, is this is true and everything like that, is that sometimes because of the not having a male figure in their life and everything, there are some women that are looking for an instant dad and everything like that. So that's where I was having.
That's called daddy issues. I know I had daddy issues,
true.
But I did have daddy issues, so I know that now and I accept that. So correct, but still, you still have not answered my question. You are backpedaling and deflecting. I just want you to answer the question because it's like a question.
What was the question? What was the question?
Restate
the question was, did you ask her about it? Started in this in steps. We're trying to do an exercise for the ladies. If you didn't open the door. So what I'm saying to you, did you think about being long-term with her? Yes or no? You weren't ready at that point. Because I'm just trying to make
we had not discussed long-term.
But did you feel that she was a candidate for it?
I mean, I'm not going to bring a woman to my
He's not sure. So that's a no. You understand, Dr. Diamond? This is what ladies.
No, but I'm saying that's what you got to let
him answer the question.
But he's not answering it. So that's the point.
No, I wasn't
answering
it.
Okay, Mark, let me play referee for 1 second.
I just want to answer it the way you wanted me to answer it.
Right.
I'm not going to bring a woman by house. And I've had a couple of women that I've dated that I brought by the house, which means mom's house and everything, if there's not at least a possibility of a long-term relationship and everything like that.
Right.
So I get that, but what I was trying to convey to the listeners, this is where I had messed up, and I've listened to other ladies say that. This right here means that Mark, we know he's a nice gentleman. So sometimes we can jump the gun. Right. So that means that when we're walking forward, we can't keep opening doors because technically with chivalry, the man's supposed to open the door. That equates to physical things and the development of the relationship. Right. And that's where sometimes we have energy vampires. That's my word, energy vampires. The man gives you all of that, a false sense of that. And Mark, we know you're a nice guy, but whatever you said to her when y'all went to the mall, she got a little giddy. And you just told the listeners as well as us that you were not ready because if you knew, and it was 15 years ago, but you went into the child. And we're not going to go that way because we can use that somewhere else. But all I'm saying now is that for happiness, sometimes we have to do this. Don't open doors that are not open for you, even though the man is leading you. And I think that sometimes I hear, oh, you don't listen. No, it's not that I don't listen. I've seen scenarios similar to what you just said. And there's manipulation, love bombing and everything. And that's when girls get all messed up. So this is just an example of that.
Let me go back to what Mark did say. He never said he took her to the jewelry store. She wanted to go in there.
I know. This is what I'm saying. So yes.
But that's her doing that, right? So
but we don't know what the conversations were, not to cut you off. Something
but he said what the conversation was. He never mentioned that this was our discussion about looking at rings, anything like that. She went ahead and made that decision. There's a lot of women that do that right now, that makes a decision for the man. You can't do that without conversation. And I'm speaking now from a professional standpoint. I'm talking about people that lack conversation in the beginning of the relationship. So when you lack that, then people are assuming and filling in things because they want what they want. But you can't do that without having proper conversations. If you're only in the relationship 6 months to a year, what makes you think any one of you are really ready? Because you don't even know what baggage you still have that you're bringing in the current relationship you're in. So I think for me, I look at it real deep because of what I do. You know, my part-time work is to sit here and analyze why people do what they do. So you do this because you either don't know what it means to have a relationship because you didn't have the example. 2, you either have some trauma from previous relationships. 3, there's a sense of entitlement that I'm supposed to have it because I'm with this person and he's lucky he's with me. And the other way around too. She's lucky she's with me. I chose her. So it involves so much that I'm just going to put it to it's one word: ego. For a lot of people, it's their ego.
I agree.
Speaking of ego, I was going to finish the rest of the story because Mom even brings the rest of the story. Mom even brings the rest of the story up. Because Mom brings the rest of the story up. I mentioned the ring part of the story, but the other part of the story that is quite interesting, and Mom even teases me about to this day. I think she teased me on Christmas about it and everything that we just had this past year and everything like that, is this same young lady, we won't name names because that's not irrelevant. That's irrelevant and everything like that. But this same young lady came to I told you that I'm not going to bring somebody by the house, even like unless it's an emergency. Like I did bring a friend that I was quasi dating when her car broke down to my aunt's house, because that was the place that was closest to me and everything like that. So I was like, look, because we tried to get the what do you call it, the car service to come, and they weren't coming. The tow truck, AAA. That's what I was looking for. We tried to get AAA to come, and they weren't coming. And I had gone to see a friend of mine at a nightclub, so I called my aunt and uncle, and I was like, look, we stranded, and like I could go home and everything, but you're actually closer. So we did go to her house, to my aunt's house, while we were waiting for my aunt and uncle, because uncle was still living at the time, and waited for the tow truck to come, and then she went her separate way and everything like that. But the other part of the young lady that I was talking about with the diamond ring and everything like that is that, and this comes to what you're talking about, and even this topic of price tags and everything like that, and this is where Mom teases me, and even Malik teases me, that's my younger brother and everything like that, is we went to the house. Mom has a nice house. It's the house she lives in now, because she's been in that house now probably, she retired 10 years ago, so she's probably been in that house 20, 25 years. So she went into that, we went to that house and everything like that. And to your price tag argument, because this is where Mom teases me at and everything, she looked around the house, she saw a nice house, Mom's got nice artwork, it's got a swimming pool, it's got other things, it's in the country, so it's a nice house and everything like that. And to this day, this is what Mom teases me about. She looks around the house and she's like, hey, guess what? This is gonna be our house one day. And Mom looking at her like, say what? This is gonna be what?
She said that?
Yes, she said that. There's been no conversation about a relationship. There's been no conversation about an engagement. And she's looking at me and she's like, telling, in the house that Mom owns, that this is gonna be our house one day and everything like that.
You see that?
Yeah, that one blew my mind, Mark. I guess you thought you was a stunster. What they say on Bridgerton, a spinster. She thought you don't treat me like I'm a spinster. You gonna just tell me what I'm doing with my life? Please,
right? But
we're single by choice.
What they had. She looked at what they had. His mom, right? And going into that home, there was a level of, I have to stick with this man because I know I'll have some level of value. I will get things. See, it's more material versus where the connection is. And that's where a lot of people fail, right? Yeah. So, okay. So what we're going to do is now I want to watch one clip. We're going to watch one clip. We're going to analyze this clip, take a look at it. We're going to talk about it when we come back, and then we're going to talk about some other things. So let's check this first clip out.
You inherited $400,000?
No, I didn't.
Who inherited the rest of that then?
I don't know what you're referring to. The rest of what?
When you received that IRA, you did not tell me that it was $400,000 to be split amongst you, your brother, your parents, and your mom's brother.
I did not tell you that. And I also can't speak to what other people have inherited. I can only speak to what
I'm asking you if that is what you said to me.
I already just answered it. No, I didn't tell you that.
Ma'am, yeah, you haven't produced any documents to show that anything has been hidden. And I've given you some leeway to get into that, and you simply come back to the same thing, that he's hiding stuff, but you don't have any documentation that he's hiding anything. So unless you can produce anything, you need to go into a different line of questioning.
I have asked for alimony, so I don't know why that's not being discussed. He kept me home since 2010. So I do not understand why I would not be getting it. He has paid for everything up until, he hasn't even stopped. Right now, So, I mean, you've taken care of it for that long.
You see what I'm saying? Because he's been taking care of it that long, she just expects him to continue taking care of it in the form of alimony and child support. Oh, and a free house. Oh, and all the inheritance that he may or may not have got off his parents. She wants that, but he was obviously smart enough to either hide it or it never existed in the first place. I'll let you guys decide which one is true. But anyway, let's get on to the final bit. This is when the judge basically tells her what she's getting, and yeah, she's not exactly too happy.
When I come up and calculate all of the amounts owed back and forth to the parties in this matter, it looks like that there is quite frankly, the court looks at its minimal amount, means that the plaintiff would be entitled to receive the sum of $1,304.45 to equalize all of the personal property and the 401k. So the court would order that she would in fact receive that money, the $1,304.45, either through a payment by the plaintiff to her, which shall occur within 90 days of today's date, or through a quadro for that particular amount. I'll leave it up to your client as to what he wants to do, being that it's a minimum amount. He may want to simply pay that in cash. If he does, then the amount under the 401k is awarded solely to him, free and clear of any claim on the part of the defendant.
So there you go. She did not get what she wanted because, well, it wasn't in his name. So there you go. Now, it's also worth noting that the kids, I think, were 10 and 13. So it's not like the kids were young. It's not like they were newborns where she would have ideally liked to have been home looking after them. No, they're 10 and 13. They go to school. So she has no excuse to not get a job and provide for herself. Obviously, he's going to pay child support, which is fair enough, but none of the other stuff she wanted. And also, in the full court hearing, she constantly tried to argue with the judge. That's never going to help you, is it? Do you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So before you go into anything, what I would like for you all to examine or give me feedback about is her body language. What was her body language like?
The body language, like she already thought that she had won before she got in there, and then when the judge turned it against her and everything like that, then she was not going to be a happy camper and everything like that, because she was already thinking that she had won before she got into the area and everything like that. And your body language tells a lot about what you got going on in your mind and everything like that. So
and I'm gonna come from you working at a behavioral health center, and what they'll do is that's why they want your background check. So when I got to meet people and your body language, I look at the background check. It tells you all this stuff. You look at their IDRC statement. Her behavior matched that transcript that I would have because of some of that. And that's where the thing is that where you have to think your brand is everything for you. That means your legal brand, your credit, all of that. Because when it comes down to situations like that, they would have prejudged you before you even open your mouth. And her body language just basically gave them a stamp like, no. And all that she did for me, not knowing the background, it was to me like he was a price tag because she didn't have any empathy. She was moving around. And that's what I saw. And I've seen a lot of people like that. And when you see that and you're working through the legal system, probation, parole, it's like, wow, I've heard a lot. And you have to purge. Because now when you're out and about and you have kids and now the kids and your grandkids is telling you stuff, you're like, oh. That's why some people live in the country. Some people live in the South because the city is too much for them. Yeah. And the climate, as you stated, Dr. Diamond, that right there was showing that he didn't matter to her. He was just a ching ching. I just want ching ching from her. That's it.
Yes. Her body language for me also is entitlement. She had an entitlement posture. She had her ego was super big. Now, don't get me wrong. We need our ego. That's a part of our personality. We you know, it's a development of what we have. Our ego either checks us or it doesn't check us. But however, according to Freud, we need the ego, super ego, and the id. We need that, right? Okay. But when she presented herself, she threw her hair on the side, and then the way she spoke to the judge, also was like, how dare you, and the way she spoke to him was like, your whole family. Well, ma'am, you're an ex-wife. You're not even a part of the family any longer. Then furthermore, when she's speaking to him like, you owe me this. And then she's telling them how much it was. So to me, it really spoke of, again, a price tag.
No common sense. Common sense is not in his name.
Right. There's a price tag there. And then when she threw in her unsolicited information was like, well, he kept me at home. Well, you had no problem with it then. So why do you have a problem with it now? That's because she has to change what she's doing. And that is being not kept any longer and possibly go out and work. And that's something she doesn't want to do. And I do want to speak to this as well. Sometimes women are groomed to do this. Like, they are groomed from a young age that you find a man that's going to take care of you. I have run into a lot of women like that. And she's one of those people possibly that have had other women groom her to say, you're too beautiful to work for anybody. Find someone that you can marry that's rich and take care of you.
Yes. And remember that movie Just Right, Mark? Remember that movie Just Right with Queen Latifah? And remember the other character? And she wanted to find Common. Remember in the movie? Just Right, he played for the Nets. And just seeing that movie, earlier, what was it, like over 10 years ago? But that movie was an example of the grooming, of how she researched, we got to go to this party. We're going to leave this party, because she was trying to get him to follow her. And then she ended up getting him. So if people are movie rats, I love movies. Dr. Diamond loves movies. Just Right with Queen Latifah. And I can't think of Paula Patton. That's an example of a movie and how it ended.
But
the homegirl got the girl. I'm gonna be quiet.
No problem. Speaking of that grooming and everything along those lines, sometimes it's not just the individuals that's doing the grooming as well. I know that I mentioned on this show a couple of times, and I definitely mentioned on other shows as well, that sometimes there are institutions that help with the grooming as well and everything like that. Because I know that I have talked about the church environment, and I'm not knocking the church environment. It is Easter Sunday and everything like that. But we do know that there are sometimes that as soon as you walk in the church, because I know that I've been in those church environments, and they're ready to automatically set you up with whoever they feel is going to be your person. So they're trying to play that and everything like that. Going like
arranged marriages.
It's almost like an arranged marriage, because I'm sitting there going like, I'm still trying to get to know the young lady, and y'all are already trying to prophesize that we're going to be together and everything like that. And you're sitting there going like, wait a minute, I'm still trying to figure out my relationship with the person, not necessarily the church's relationship with the person, and them trying to force a relationship as well. Because you have some churches that'll force relationships or try to force relationships with that whole prophecy thing. And I'm not saying that prophecies are not real. I'm saying that there are definitely real prophets out there, and there's some people that have those prophecy skills, but there are also some people that are fake prophets. And let's just be real about that as well. So there are folks like that. And then the other thing, just to switch the topic, but still stay on the same topic and everything, is I remember there is also associations, and I know that your husband April is involved in some of the Greek associations and stuff like that, but they're also professional organizations. And I know that sometimes people will go to parties from those professional organizations because they're on the prowl. And I remember one time seeing 3 generations. It was a grandmother, a mother, and their daughter, and all of them were at the Lawyers Ball, because there's an annual Lawyers Ball here in the area, here in Durham, with the professional lawyers and everything like that. And there was no doubt that when I saw this, and this was also a while back and everything, but the ball still goes on, and I'm sure that prowling still goes on as well. But they were clearly on the hunt for a lawyer, because the lawyer was seen to have that prestige and that price tag. So definitely, and with all 3 generations, they were out there trying to find them a lawyer from the Lawyers Ball.
Yeah. Now you see that again, that like you said, this is different entities that have groomed you to say, this is your value. This is what you should go out for. This is why you shouldn't. Even back in the day, if we were to take it through Reconstruction, going back to that time when Reconstruction was happening, there still was a difference between the darker hue people and lighter hue people. So back then, even the churches, a part of my dissertation, I read about how we practice this to the point where you couldn't go into certain churches if you were darker than the the board of the door. Like they had those literally up. So again, at that time, you still was being groomed also to marry well. So you can be taken care of, you know, you have the children, so on and so forth. Then after a while, the women movement came, voting, all of these things began to happen where women began to evolve and have that voice. So independency, where some women began to grasp onto it. However, at times, the independency can also be a crutch, but also it can be very crippling for some women, because some women can be overly independent to the point that they don't want a man in their life, or they'll tell them, I can do it, I can do this, that, and the other. Okay, but you can't take care of every single thing in your life. And if that person can bring you companionship and you find someone that you can actually love and walk, you know, this in this world with, you know, put those guards down, because at times you're hurting yourself without even realizing it. Yes, Mark, I see the finger, the church finger.
Oh, okay, because I'm waiting patiently.
Speaking of the guards down and everything like that, I did have a question for you two young ladies.
Wait a minute, don't change the gear yet. Don't change the gear. Let me just piggyback on that, Mark. And, you know, just to say that, because sometimes I feel like I'm in the middle, because my family, we had land and everything. So this is what I was. We were rich in love. So if we needed things, we had it. So there was no lack. Even though, you know, and even with my father, you know, being in the street at that time and all of that, it was always good in love. So when you're around something and you want to give, what do you do with that? But these men, sometimes, if a woman makes more than them, they don't like that. It becomes a problem. So I know that some of the women I speak of, you don't want to see that. Then they see your pay stub and then well, you don't need me. So you understand? So I have gotten that, you know, not showing that. Someone that I was living with saw my pay stub and, oh man, I'm like, for what? For what? The point is that me equally, let's just have the house account. You do this and do that. But it's like sometimes it ends up becoming a problem. You want companionship, but then the man's ego has an issue. But then my thing is that's what a Proverbs 31 woman is. Make sure there's no lack. It's in the word. Yeah. You know, it's in the word. So that means that, what's that movie, Jump in a Broom? Remember the lady came up and said, he said, I lost all the money. She said, no, I have a rainy day fund. Remember that? Yeah. She was making sure you wanted to do whatever you do. Why some men, their egos end up causing a problem. It's what we have together. I don't care. A and B making sense.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And yes. I can definitely see that. But what I was getting ready to get to is what I'm hearing from a lot of people. And I'd love to hear you two ladies' perspective on this and everything, because being in the arts world and definitely being in the social world, even in social media and everything like that, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or a number of other places as well, I'm hearing a lot of women tell me that they are frustrated. And part of what they're frustrated by is that they feel that the younger men don't have a sense of how to deal with a woman and everything like that. Because I can't tell you how many women that are younger, and whether that's 30s or 40s or even, well, 50s would be younger too, because I'm in my 60s, but definitely 30s and 40s and everything have stepped toward me or approached me because, one, I guess it's because of the security and everything along those lines, but two, because they're frustrated by their own generation. And they've told me this because I'm an open kind of book and I talk to people and learn from them and everything like that. But I just, and even if you go out and about, and sometimes they may try to play it off like they're not actually out there on a date, but there are a number of May December relationships that are out there, whether they are meant to those May December relationships or kind of play it off as we're just friends and everything like that. But there is a lot of that going on because I think the young women are frustrated by their young peers. But both of y'all work with young folks, so what is y'all's take on that? Because I'm hearing a lot of young women in their 30s and 40s are going like, these guys have no clue.
Because there's no big mamas. See, what happened is back then, you had an example, as Dr. Diamond has said before. If there's an example, you know what to do. Then if there's no reading, you know, I remember before we used to go to the library. So you read stories about couples and things. Remember Little House on the Prairie? It's different what's out there. I just feel that it's a lot of live TV. And as a mentor, when you're talking to these kids, and when my niece said to me, Mom, what do you think about this Diddy situation? Yank took the phone. So that means that they're hearing it. And some folks don't know how to police these devices. Mm-hmm. So now what happens, they have a little bit of time because I'm hands-on because these children are seeing too much. So then that's the example that's showing them how to date. Then if they're seeing sex, like now, you know, Cardi B, I understand she said she doesn't let her children listen to her music, but one day they're going to listen to it because they're going to be grown. So there was a song that she said, "She Not Me" or something. I just happened to pass it scrolling. So now I understand you're going through your relationship breakup, and now you're putting that out for these children to see that. That's going to cause competition. Then that's going to make sure that they feel that they need to have that type of body, which is going to cause self-esteem issues, et cetera, et cetera. You need to have conversations with the kids. The school systems are not having those type of conversations. They're not. Mm-hmm. You know, there's no home economics. There's not a whole, you have to really give your children or anyone that you love these particular tools at home. That's what I see, Mark.
No, I see the same thing. What's your take, April?
So, with what you're saying, I think that the mature young women you're talking to, I still base it back on the foundation of conversation. If these women are highly intelligent and mature, and they're talking to these men that are sitting across from them that are their age, and they find that the conversation is not intriguing, it is not actually stimulating their brain. And one thing about women that maybe some men don't know is that that's how most women are stimulated by their brain. If you can talk to them, that's an attraction, because you're keeping the person motivated and engaged. When you lose that, you lose them as well. So I can see why a woman that is younger in their 30s would gravitate to someone that might be maybe 20 years older or 10 years older, because she knows this person can actually engage and have a conversation, have been out there living already, and can actually guide and tell her, hey, you know what, this is what I think, or, you know, let me bring something to the table. So it comes to a trifold effect. If you think about it, it's stimulating the brain, the conversation that's happening, what that man can actually bring as far as experience, and it's more things that can happen there as the foundation of what that young person or young woman is looking at. So she's in her mid-30s and she's talking to somebody that's 46 or above. I really believe that is what it is, that connection there. Because although we're talking about price tags, if we set that to the side for a minute, those women are actually looking for someone that they can really walk this world with, and have companionship and all of those things that they have been thriving for or wanting and desiring. That's my answer.
I agree. And to piggyback on what Dr. Diamond said, I prefer to date older men because I had a master's at 23. So you would meet people, you're out and about, traveling with work, and you see people in those rooms. However, when it comes down to, oh, that person's too old. No, it's really the conversation, as you said. It's more so just a friend. And these are folks that just go out and have dinner, nothing romantic at times, just to be able to be cultured. You know, a lot of the expensive restaurants that I had gone to was through a colleague. But if they see you out with a colleague, oh, something's going on. No, not necessarily. It's just two great minds having discussions. So now that I'm older in my career, as I reach a half a century, and I said, you know what? In my 20s, I was in some rooms with psychiatrists. When I first left this university to run a drug program, I went with the psychiatrists. These are the people that I was around. And I missed that because the camaraderie, it stimulated my brain. But what happens is life happens. You become disabled. Then you're around different people. So what we have to remember is you have to go back to your tribe. Where are you getting stimulated? And sometimes we forget that. So Mark, you basically said a whole lot, which is going to basically help us. And that's why you have to come to On the Couch of the week, because we have the female perspective and the male perspective.
No, we try to give you all that perspective. Coming back to that video that you were showing earlier and everything like that, because that's come up in a couple of, I mentioned the young lady before and everything like that. But a lot of people have family trust, and if they don't have family trust, they have certain things in their wheels and everything like that. And I do know that sometimes people in the relationships are making assumptions, and you don't need to be making assumptions about what you're getting in the relationship because you are in the relationship. I know for a fact, and I don't think that I'm speaking out of school and everything like that, that when my grandparents passed away on my mom's side, that it was divided among the 4 sisters and everything like that. And now one of those there are 3 sisters left, mom and her other 2 sisters, but one of the sisters passed away. Her husband has passed away as well. So that is now going to the next generation. So my cousin John, as a matter of fact, he's moving into a house because of having that, because of to money and everything like that. But I'm sure that there are people that are assuming because he's got the house that he's automatically going to be bringing that into whatever new relationship he's got. And John, like me, doesn't have any kids and everything, but should he get a kid or should he marry a woman with kids? That will be a conversation that they will have to have as to whether that's going to be the next generation. Because right now we'd be going to the generation after that, which would be my cousin Tanya's kids and everything, and Malik's kids and everything like that. Because we do have it. I think everybody's got it in their will that it goes to the next generation, so we can keep that generational wealth going. Because that's something that we as a people have lost overall.
Yes, not to keep liquidating assets. Yes, it doesn't work. Yes,
and that Mark, you're right. It is very true that people or those that come into a relationship, and we're going to look at both genders because I don't want to, keep out, just focus on one. Many times people just look at the totality of the family. If you have something in your family that they did not have, they are feeling that they're entitled because they're married into the family. Then where is the basis of the relationship? Is it about materials or is it about love and why you came into the relationship? So, I question sometimes some people, even when you think about these marriages that people are having these days and baby showers, these baby showers and marriages are over 10, 20 grand, so I'm like, what is happening here that these values of things have, gone, these price tags are huge. And I'm not saying don't have a, this grand marriage, if that's what you want, this grand wedding and baby shower, you do what makes you happy. However, in the end, you shouldn't be coming to see me in a year or two because the relationship is not working.
No, that they should be, but they need to be looking at the finances of what the relationship is. I mean,
Right.
my brother was fortunate enough to have the latest engagement looks like it's falling apart and everything like that. But he was fortunate enough to be married twice. The first marriage was a traditional wedding. It was in a small church. I don't know that they spent that much money, but they just spent some money and everything. The second wedding, and that's the one that gave me my 2 nephews and everything, that was a justice of the peace. And justice of the peace wedding is not that expensive and everything like that. So sometimes you got to look at the cost of what you can afford, because not everybody can afford these extravagant weddings, even if they want the extravagant wedding and everything like that. I was going to tease another situation because it comes back to the price tag. And just because a person is helping you out in a situation, that also doesn't mean that it's automatically a relationship as well. Because I do know that I have been, because I consider myself to be fairly intelligent, try to share the intelligence here on the couch as well as on the butterfly room and everything like that. But that also means that some people that are in school, including graduate school, see you as a good candidate for a study buddy. But a study buddy does not necessarily mean that it's going to lead into an automatic romance relationship as well. But some people make assumptions about that because they're like, well, he's helping me do this, he's helping me do that, so this can be a further friendship and everything like that. And I'm not saying that it can't lead to that, because it can, depending on where the chemistry is and where the people are going.
And remember, like with men can just do that. And that's the difference. Women, that's a whole nother conversation. Like you just said, being nice. And just because a man is kind to you doesn't necessarily want it to be romantic in a relationship. That is something the young women, they don't understand. And that's where I feel the struggle comes in with that. So thank you, Mark, for even mentioning that. Because a lot of stories, a lot of women that were using drugs, snorting coke or abusing pain pills. I got a lot of women, abusing pills. And because of the euphoria of how they were depressed, I said, well, no, what you needed was an antidepressant. Right. So then from there, we work with the psychiatrist to get them off of self-medicating to deal with their depression so that they can move over to something that is more healthy. And that's because of conversations. And as Dr. Diamond said, talk. But people don't want to talk. And that's really what the issue is. And to me is, if I'm speaking to someone, now I know it's a red flag. I am definitely not the flag collector. So if I see this flag, I'm not going to keep clapping them in my hand, because that means if I can't have a conversation and we talk about that, then that means that they're deflecting. They just want to get in your pants. Sorry.
Yeah, there's some of that going on, but there's also people that make assumptions. Because I'll go to another situation and everything like that. Because I remember this is on Dad's side. Dad used to go regularly to a beach trip, and he would take the family and everything like that. And I got talked into, because sometimes you can get talked into things as well. Having a friend of mine that I was dating come to that same family outing, and I think Dad was looking at me all cross-eyed, because he's going like, "Look, you know that you're invited, but nobody said anything about you bringing a +1 and everything like that." So, because like I said, because I let her, because I was young at the time, let her talk me into going there to the beach house and everything like that. And I think Dad and the rest of the company was going like, "Dad, you have a standing invitation. You are my son and everything like that. But we had not talked about you bringing a +1 and everything like that." So that's something you got to have in those conversations earlier and everything. You just can't be making assumptions or letting people talk you into situations that can be uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
But
okay, so go ahead, Tori,
I wanted to
and
say
then we're
one
gonna
thing.
move
You
to
were
the next clip.
talking about going into the family. Has anyone watched this show on Netflix called Beauty in Black?
No, I haven't gotten into that. I heard
Because
that
if
it
you're
was pretty
watching that
good.
show, I got pulled in with a family member just to watch it. But in that show, the one girl basically married into the family because it was wealth. She was foster children. So that's where, and that's a good thing to watch. It's a little raunchy. However, it's what people are seeing right now. So a lot of times if I watch something, it's for research basis, to see what it is. But that's what's out there right now. It's a lot of stuff, but mainly when you discuss of people seeing a price tag. This was a father who brought her in, and she's was enduring abuse from this guy. He was sleeping around on her and everything, and just because of the wealth. She said, I built this company. I'm like, you get what I mean? That's a message out there now, because at the end of the day, you have shares. It's affecting my shares. So if you have children watching this show who are not getting that sidebar, that's something that's saying that's what you're supposed to do. Get a rich person so you can get your shares.
Hey, Dr. Diamond and Toya, in that same place, because I kind of alluded to it earlier, and we've definitely talked about it on this show and other shows before, how much of it is also people looking at material things? Like I said, I get around by mass transit, and I don't mind getting around by mass transit and even telling people that that's how I get around and everything like that. But you do have some people that will be out there looking at the cars. They want the guy with the Jaguar, the Benz, and everything like that. But sometimes those cars can be, the car note can be just as expensive as the house note, depending on what kind of car you got and everything like that. But you have some people that are looking at that. And I also mentioned titles earlier, because you do have some people that will diss a certain job and everything like that, because you have some people that will, like, as I said earlier, the doctor and the lawyer, and they will dismiss the plumber and the brick mason as the other folks. But they know what I know, which is the truckers and brick masons and plumbers make
they have more residual income.
Sometimes they make more money than even the doctor and
they
the lawyer
do.
and everything like
they
that.
do, because everyone else has a student. I help people with financial planning, and most of them are tight. I did an executive, made about 300,000, but then he had the the Amex. You understand? If you're using your Amex so much, you just watch, because you should be pulling out other things. So you just pay attention. But the one that what you call them, they're cash poor. They have resources for retirement. They got to move stuff around, and that's what other people do. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
So Mark, before I get into the other clip, so what I am going to say to that too, when people ignore or judge those with not the typical jobs, the so-called, let's say, doctor, lawyer, you got the doctors, the lawyers, and engineers, they make all of this money, right? According to how society views that. If you look at the basis of that, that's the basis of what white society set the standard. And we went with that. Instead, and if you go back again, you got to go back into Reconstruction and antebellum period. They were basic brick masons, right? You had the blacksmiths, right? You had basic
blue collar
jobs.
workers, blue collar.
They were all, and they made out well. But again, when you're finding that the conditioning of the whole world, if you think about it, it is based off of what white people view as successful. We took that and not all of us, some of us took that and say, oh, okay, so this is how we supposed to be. But then now we're taking it too far. There's some people that's just taking it too far. You have a I'll use my uncle as an example. My uncle, he was in the military, got out the military. He had a period where he was down. He came back up because he became a welder. As a welder, you know how much money he was making? More than I can ever dream of.
Supply and demand, because people don't know how to do that.
Yeah, she did his taxes. And she said, you wouldn't believe it. She said, I'm not going to tell you what the price tag is, but I'm going to tell you it's a 6-figure salary. That's what she said. So I was like, wow. But again, because society has us believing you're supposed to only be this type of, you should be only in this type of career. This is how much you should make, instead of looking at the man who actually has maybe millions in his bank account, but you have no idea because you're judging him based off his job. But it shouldn't even be about his money. It should be about what he's bringing to the table as a human being, you know? So
yes. And I can co-sign that, because when you think about it, my first work study job, I was the assistant to the associate director of housing and residence life, which eventually I became an RN eventually, but I got groomed from there. I'm looking at all these acquisitions, and I'm just putting them in a thing at Seton Hall, doing all this. What's encumbered funds? I learned out what encumbered funds was at 18. So then I go, she said, Toy, you got everything to get a spreadsheet is done. I didn't know what this was. Then I'm going into these classes, but because I was an honor student, I had all this here. What I tried to do as an adult is tell these people of color, of men, what to do. Oh, no, you think you know everything. No, you need a budget. Yeah. You have this business. You need a budget. Anything that you buy from your car needs to be brought by the company, so it don't mess you up. If something happens, they take it. Those are things that I saw that now I'm like, I need to bet on myself, as Marlon E. Curtis said. So you're going to come next week. But these are things that I wanted to share with folks. So now what I stop doing, stop talking. I'll show you better than I can tell you, because if you're trying to rebuild your residuals, if you're trying to make sure we are people of color, same model. The white collar model versus the blue collar. If the blue collars operated their business like the white collar, do you know what we would have?
Yeah, we'd
there
have
are some. There are some, but they don't. We keep it in a secret society. I see it all, and you try to open it, and the egos, as you stated, don't want you to speak. But if we operated like the system that you're speaking of, that's all I'm gonna say.
No, in that same framework and everything, there's a quote that's on the wall of Hayti and everything, and it's from W.E.B. Du Bois, but he was talking about how people at the time of the Black Wall Streets were making their own suits, and even, because I make the joke when I do the presentation, that we didn't have to go to Man's World just to use that, but they were also making their own mattresses, which is to the point that we didn't necessarily have to
we talked about that
and everything like that. So you could actually have it built in our own environment and everything like that. And there is a if you come to Durham, if you come in, I think throughout the South and everything, there's a popular brick and everything like that. It's called the Fitzgerald brick, and that was a gentleman that was a black brick mason that made lot of the older buildings, not just at North Carolina Central University, but also at Hayti, but also on Duke's campus, because he's the one that created that particular style of brick and everything like that. But his brother, that was called Mr. Fitzgerald, and it's the Fitzgerald brick that he designed and everything like that. But it is very popular brick that is out there that a brother made, and even Julian Abel, who did a lot of the designing, was a black architect and everything like that. So a lot of things we don't think about them in terms of their connection to us and everything like that. So I just want to bring most of them up, because Julian Abel helped design both Duke University as well as a lot of other buildings throughout this area and everything like that. But he was a black architect that people don't give enough respect to. But to the point of the not dismissing the blue collars, I mean, there's a whole brick, the Fitzgerald brick that's been out there for hundreds of years and everything like that.
And they all live together. Did you think about the Amish market? Have you been to the Amish market? You think they come in for 3 days to make a whole lot of money, then they go back and they come back. So just imagine if we all live together. You have the Asians that come in the community. You have the Indians. Everybody buys. They have their cleaners. They have this. The only thing they have to do is come out. And I watch this because this is around me. They have a strip mall, and you see the same people. They're putting the money, rotating it in their community like that. But what do? We go out and we're expanding our what we're spending. Because now I'm sick and shut in. I'm like, I'm tired of paying for Uber Eats, whatever. I said, wait a minute, we got to figure this out. So you understand what I mean? These are things that are convenience fees that we paid for. So I said, I said to my niece, I said, I'm gonna pay you to come help me out. Yeah. I'm gonna pay her. Because think about why would I'm gonna call a cleaning service or something? I need someone to help me. So imagine that we need to get into that, putting it into our youth, giving jobs and stuff.
Right.
But it's just a lot. But you know,
Well, no, we need to just go back to what we used to do. We had this before. The white counterparts destroyed that. We had this already. It's just that now the division is pretty deep, and now we're working our way back because we're coming back. We're climbing up, but you know, right now we got to get through this tough time with this. What's going on right now? Well, who's the one that is running the ship right now? All right, driving.
To wake us up. I feel like it's waking us up.
It is. It is.
It's waking us up.
I'm gonna move into the second clip because I want to make sure we get this in before we're done for our show today. But let's move into the second clip, take a look at it, and we will discuss this one as well.
Where you going? What's going on? Huh?
Sorry, I forgot to tell you that my friend invited me out.
You forgot to tell me, huh? And I'm asleep. How do you forget to tell me, huh?
Because you were sleeping. I didn't want to wake you up.
You didn't want to wake me up, huh? But I flew you out with me. Why didn't you tell me this earlier?
Don't feel like that. I was just gonna go see my friend.
That don't make no sense. It's 12:30 in the middle of the night.
Girl, I haven't seen in like years.
But why didn't you tell me this earlier while we were out eating at a 5-star restaurant?
She just came up with it. Like she didn't know if she was available.
So when I go to sleep, you get up and you get dolled up. You weren't even looking like this earlier today, and now you ready to go and kick it with your friends. That don't make no sense to me. And I flew you out here.
Why do you keep saying that? Just because you flew me out here?
I'm saying that because I feel some type of way. Look at how good. But I'm just saying it. Do I really gotta explain myself?
I'm just gonna
no.
Can
I do one thing? Just let me see your phone then. Let me see. So which friend is it? Why didn't you tell me about this over dinner?
It's my homegirl.
So let me see your phone.
I told you I have friends here, right?
Let me see your phone.
I'm not gonna let you see my phone. That's not.
Oh, you ain't gonna let me see your phone, huh?
No.
Well, why not?
Because that's my privacy.
If it's just your friend, let me see your phone. I just want to see. So is she picking you up?
Am I asking you to use your phone?
Is she picking you up?
Yes.
So let me see your phone. I just want to see confirmation.
No.
I just want to see confirmation.
She's gonna drop me off. I'm gonna take an Uber there.
Wow. You think I'm boo-boo the fool, don't you?
I'm not saying that. Like, just because you're thinking, just because you brought me here, you want me to just stick with you?
No, you've been here less than 24 hours.
But you're over here sleeping the whole time. Like,
what do you mean we just ate a 5-star dinner?
It's a nice night outside.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
She was like trained.
Hold on, Mark. I'm gonna start with Mark first with this one. Mark, what did you get out of this here? What is happening?
That reminded me of I'm trying to remember the basketball player that got caught up in that whole situation where he was involved in a athletic situation where somebody was coming to his house at the midnight hour and everything like that. So that sounds like
booty call hour.
Huh?
Booty call hour.
Yeah, booty call hour, because that definitely sounds like that was because he flew her out there, so that was on his dime, on his ticket, in what looked like a fairly nice hotel, looked like it was in a city and everything like that. So it definitely looked like he was trying to bring her out there for strictly that purpose, a whole booty call and everything like that. But it also looked like she had other intentions and everything like that, so she wasn't just going to be beholden to that one man and everything like that. But definitely it sounds to me like they were both trying to play each other. I'll just put it that way. It sounded like they were both trying to play each other and everything like that, because he was sending her out there because he was trying to control her by flying her out there and everything like that. And then it sounded like she was trying to take back some sense of control by going out to her own other situation and everything like that, because I'm not buying that was a girlfriend and everything like that. So I think that was two people.
So either.
What happened to the conversation? So now, Mark, you went somewhere else, but there should have been a conversation of what the expectation was. So that's what I was at. I was there like, okay, I get it. And then I felt she was trained. You know, women who are human trafficked, whatever they do, they know the skit. Because she kept getting back, well, you don't own me. I was listening to those type of things. Because usually when you're doing an assessment, you want to hear those questions. The person says they were victimized. But I was just listening to her, because now the expectation, you got in an airplane to go where? And that goes back to the Diddy trial, not to bring that up. but you knowingly got on the airplane. What was the discussion? That's where I would have wanted to know. So I don't know the rest of that.
I don't know the
what
situation.
was the rest of the,
I don't know the situation either. But I can tell you a couple of things. I'm just going to put my own self out there and everything like that. But there's a famous blues song that is out there, and if you haven't heard it, and I'm trying to remember the artist, but if you type it, it'll come up and everything. But it's called "Player Got Played," and that's the name of the song and everything like that. And that's what that sounds to me like, that it was a player that got played and everything like that. But it is a famous blues song by a well-known blues artist. So if you type in "Player Got Played," it should come up and everything like that. But I do know that I mean, you have people that are out there and they will have those lack of a better term, one night stands and everything like that. I mean, I've had one or two of them in my life, not proud of it and everything like that.
I've never had one.
I've
never had one. I'm gonna just be honest, and you know how you're young. Oh, you like someone, but it ended up being. And I said, okay, it was just once in my life in college, and it did not end up into being a one night stand. So,
well, like I said, I only had one, and that was a young lady that flew all the way from California and everything like that. And this was 25, 30 years ago and everything like that, and it wound up being a situation where they literally flew back after we got together, and we didn't even get together in that sense and everything like that. But when they flew back, and they basically told me that they were, I want to say they got engaged or married shortly after they came out here and everything like that. So I'm going like, oh, you were just trying to test the waters before you went back to the person that you were actually interested in, and all along those lines. But they had flown all the way from California. And that was in the days, I'll tell you how long ago it was. It was in the day that Black Planet was popular and everything like that.
Black Planet. Oh my God. It's so funny. It's so funny. I've been out with people and they'll meet someone on a vacation. I have a lot of people. There's one person, she met this person 2 years ago, and I said, we met them on a vacation, and they still communicate because they were at an island, met them, came back to the States, and still communicate. Isn't that weird? Like, they say if things are predestined. So just on a happy note, but yeah.
And then the other one that was, and this comes back to people making assumptions and everything like that. There's a number of festivals that are out there, whether it's journalism festivals or theater festivals and everything. And I used to go to a major theater festival in Winston-Salem, still go to it. It's been around for 30, maybe almost 35 years and everything like that. Because it used to be odd years, now it's even year. So this is actually the year of the festival. And there was a young lady from Houston. We became friends. She came to visit. She actually came to the family event and everything. That was when my great aunt and great uncle were living. So she came to the family event and everything like that. But this is where you're going to get a kick. I think I've told this story to your husband and everything like this. And this is where y'all get a good laugh and everything. She came and there was no true chemistry between the two of us, even though she did come to the family outing and everything like that, because she started to either crochet or quilt. I don't think she was quilting. She was crocheting the whole time. And my family looking at her like, well, why did you invite this person? Because she's not really trying to engage you in the family and all along those lines. So why did you invite her to the
She brought her exit with her. She said, okay, if I got my party joker here, I don't like it, I'm just crochet. You know what I mean? You ever do that? When I'm going somewhere, I bring a book, I bring my notepad.
You had her exit, which is the crochet and everything like that. But there's a counter to the crochet and everything like that. And this is the part that I had told Dean before on one of our episodes and everything along those lines, is that that particular great aunt and great uncle also were known for coming back to the country and everything like that, making homemade hooch. So they made homemade hooch and everything like that. So they made
what you know about hooch?
Strawberry wine and dandelion wine and different things like that. And actually, I think they called it Lions Park because that was their last name and everything like that. So how come, and this is another one that Malik teaches me about as well, how come after they had pretty much dissed the whole family and was kind of like not really, I think my family was trying to engage her into conversation and she was not really, I mean, she won't feel in the family either. But as soon as the hooch came out, then it became Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde because we went to the hotel and everything like that. And
you didn't know what the alcohol level of the hooch was. That's why.
She became Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde. I just remember that when because I was living downtown at the time, when I went to meet her to see her off to the taxi to go back to the airport, her last question to me was like, when can I get some of that Lions Park wine shipped
by? Oh my gosh.
Like that.
You turned her out with the hooch.
That stood out more than anything is the hooch, you know?
Yeah,
oh,
but
wow.
Mark, I'm telling you, we look at him, he has some stories up in his head and we know about.
That's really funny. But you know what? People are like that. You know, you can't. What can you do? You know, when you have people that disengage, but then something that they really like, which was that she was able to try some of that hooch, and then she liked that.
He wanted it to go
personality. Yes. So let me get my feedback on this young lady too that we just watched. Okay. So what I saw was, first of all, what I didn't understand, or what she shouldn't have done, is, again, lack of communication. That's what he was asking for when he said to her, well, all day you could have told me that you were going out with your friend. You never did hear him say you could not go. He wasn't controlling her in that manner at all. What he was saying was, you know, you could have told me earlier. And again, if you're going out with a friend, go. But I agree with Mark. It was not about a female friend. It was about a male friend. She was able to use him to get out there so she could see whoever that person was. That whole clip showed us what she did. She used him to get what she wanted. Now, I don't know necessarily that he used her, because we didn't know the context of what and why, right?
It looked like he was asleep. I would assume he was sleeping. He had to be sleeping. Like he said, you just got up, got dressed, and then he said, you look better than when we went to the 5-star restaurant. That's what stood out to me.
Right.
So to me, it was also a ploy.
Yeah, but you see also what he did was, he's telling us, you know, he's giving her some quality there. You know, he took her to a 5-star restaurant. He put some thought into her coming out there. He paid for her to come out there. So obviously he does have some money. So I don't see that, you know, he demonstrated any level of struggle. So he wasn't saying, well, you owe me. He didn't say any of that. He just was like, where, you know, at 12 a.m.
The principle.
It's almost 12:30 in the morning, and you're getting dressed to go somewhere. So I just feel that, again, there's a level of disrespect here. There is a level of entitlement that, you know, you brought me out here, but I'm going to still do what I want to do. Never mind that, you know,
no respect for him
going
at all.
somewhere. Zero respect for him. And then when she says, well, my friend was going to bring me back. Well, if it is a girlfriend, you would mention your girlfriend, point blank.
And he asked to see the phone. So to me, that gave me her character. He paid her for the dinner, your flight. I'd have been like, oh, here, no problem. But again, a person with integrity would have said, you know what, my friend is here, etc., like he said. And I like how he mentioned it and he recorded. I guess he said, you know what? But then Mark said, hopefully he didn't play somebody else and he just got his karma. I hope not. But you know,
I hope not.
It's not for us to judge them.
I have a question for you two ladies, because I know we're winding down and everything like that, because we usually try to do about 2 hours on this show and everything like that. But just really quickly, because it is definitely a common trope in the male situation and everything like that. But you are two of my great lady friends and everything like that. So I do have to ask y'all, because I do know for a fact, because I've got some other lady friends as well, that it is a reality that goes on in the lady world, maybe not as much as the guy world, but it does go off in the lady world as well. So my question to you was I'm just gonna put it bluntly, was she planning to get some twice? Because the implication was that she already got
I think so. And if that's the case, that's not nice.
Yeah.
But Mark, that's just not nice. It's not nice.
No.
I mean that
I do think so.
Human traffic. So that was, I didn't want to say that, but maybe she works for somebody, and if she's human traffic, she got to make sure she's coming back.
I don't think so.
But if there is a person like that.
But that's your opinion. That's your opinion, Toya. So if you feel like she was being human trafficked.
No. I didn't say she was. I'm just saying for a person that is, you know, there are people out there going to catch you and they can hurt you. So that's all I'm saying. Be careful.
Yeah.
But
being that we're not crossing those lines of human trafficking, I just want to stay where we are.
Okay.
What she demonstrated to me is that she used one to get to the other. And I do think she would have slept with that other person. And then she would have worked her way back because she got to get back home. You know what I'm saying? So again, she used this man to get what she wanted. You know what popped into my mind too when Toya, you were talking about the different movies, and I want someone or anyone to go back and look at The Family That Prays. I say that because that is an excellent movie to analyze on how this is a young lady who started out, her parents, humble people, and she remembered growing up so bad. Now, here's the trauma for her. The father left. He found another woman. The mother carried on and worked, and she worked, she worked.
But she was a millionaire in secret, though.
Yeah, but hold on, Toya, you're jumping too far. I'm trying to build up here, okay? So when she worked as she did, the mother displayed a level of integrity, humility, all of these things. So that's why it confused her that one daughter was one way and the other daughter felt entitled to things because her father lived well. She said it in the end when she started talking to her mother and said, my father, he lived well. She said, well, that's nice for him. But this is not how she not even groomed her. Raised her to be a certain way. The young lady was not humbled at all. She cheated on her husband, decided to have a family with someone who was well established. But was he really? No. His mother was wealthy. His mother was wealthy. He was not wealthy because he threw that career away with his drug problems. So it was so much with it. But the family that prays, to me, is an excellent example of a person that did not have a lot, traumatized by not having a lot, became established, but she slept her way up in the business. And she said it because she was proud of it when Robin Givens character.
Who did you go? She said no, because they were close, the family. Right. So you used your mother friend, and that's another thing too.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But hey, but just really quickly, because that's what I was kind of alluding. That's what I was alluding to. Is there is this notion as because Dean making this time around as the male representative and everything like that, it is only guys that do the playing and everything like that. And I know for a fact that there are some women players that are out there too, that are like this woman that was on this video and everything. And there are some women out there that are wanting to get whatever they want to get, whether that's physical or whether that's financial or whatever they want to get, and they are willing to go after multiple targets at the same time, which is what this woman sounded like she was doing. And I would not be surprised if the story and the soap opera didn't go even further than that, and she went to the other gentleman's house and then played him and went to a third person and everything like that.
But the sad part is that men assume that everyone is like that, and that's the part that for someone who, like she said, it may be a trauma for him now moving forward to his next relationship. He may take that and it might mess up a good guy. And these are scenarios that you have to think about, but you have to have conversations. And that's what being an adult is. This is what my expectation is. Let's talk. But when you just go in there, that's how women get hurt, get raped, a lot of stuff.
It's not just women that get hurt that way. Because like I said,
I
mentioned a couple of situations that I've been in and everything like that. But some of those situations were also people that had been in abuse situations, whether they'd been married or whether they'd been in a relationship and everything like that. So they were bringing that situation into the new situation, which was me and everything like that. So
you have to have healing.
Flip the script. So let's say that you got burned by somebody that was insecure in their own relationship with whatever that relationship was, whether it was marriage, whether it was boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. And then you get into a new relationship, then you start playing the insecurity games on the new person. Because I've had that happen.
That's the transference factor. Right. Yep. Because you're looking in the mirror. So you're thinking this person's going to do that. Where you need to let someone know what your triggers are. And see, that's where, for me, and I'll just put myself, if I'm speaking to someone and I am a cycle breaker, and if I can't have that conversation with you and you're pushing me against the wall, I had to learn that's a trigger. And why wouldn't you want to open the door? So now I am not the flag collector. I'm going to walk away. Because if you're not opening and letting me know, that's a red flag for me. And what I have done in my younger age is try to talk through it, overlook it, go around the bend. But you know what? Whenever there's an issue, you're going to keep coming back to the road. It's just going to be a distraction, but it's still going to be the same wall that you're going to face. And we don't talk about it.
So Toy, I have a question for you. When you talk about, your triggers, how early on do you discuss this in these discussions with the person you're talking to? And I'm not talking about dating. How early on?
Well, see, the thing is, I've tried different. How you say it? What's the definition of insanity? To do the same thing, you're gonna think you're gonna get different results. So what I did was my own little research, and I would try different approaches, and I had to do different approaches because I didn't want to become a flag collector. So one of the things is just in conversation, when you're meeting someone, you want to listen. So the new thing that I've learned is I don't want to always be the one talking, Because if I'm the only one talking, you're not opening the door. And I had to
Right.
learn that through trial and error because I'm not insane. So when you are trying to date and you notice that you're the only one talking, that means that person may only want to be surface level with you. And sometimes we don't want to accept that. So that's one of the things. Then if there is something that, again, with that door being closed, that's where the trigger comes in. Where I had done before and failed at was I continue to knock, do whatever. No, you can't. And I'm grateful for my Nigerian sister. So yes, it was trial and error. Because in the past, what I would try to do is a different approach to see where things are. But when a person is answering, how you say apples and oranges, let's say apple, apple. But if somebody giving you an orange, that's their detour. If we're talking apple, apple, we should be talking apple, apple. So sometimes I have to be visual to a point and be a geek on it. Because if you're not a geek to the relationship, you will make those assumptions. And what's the word assume? ASSUME. And you don't want to be looking like a jack, you know what? So these are the uncomfortable conversations that you have to have, because the trigger, again, for me is when I attempt to do it in a professional way. And I went around the way. And now, as I'm trying to say without being too lengthy, but this is what I'm going to be discussing in my books, but is that you have to know and be true to yourself. Because if a person is really trying to get to know you, they're going to unfold. It's an onion. And a lot of times as women, we want what we want at times, or a person can say they presume to love and things like that, but it could be performative. And as you age in life, is a person performing for you? Because I know for here, when the truth is, you can ask me the same thing over and over and over again. I can say the same thing over and over again. But when a person changes their approach and they change what they're giving you, the truth, then that's something that we need to look at. And you learn as you get older. For me, put your head on your chest. Sometimes you have to really feel what you're actually feeling in that moment. And sometimes our internal clock is telling us something. We just don't run because we think, oh, I got butterflies. Oh, I must love them and all of that. So now as I'm mentoring, I talk to children about that and think about when we thought something was a safe space and it wasn't a safe space. So that's where, for me, that would be a trigger when I thought something was a safe space and it was not. So that's something that you have to learn. Yeah.
Your show, The Butterfly Room. I don't know that I've ever told y'all this and everything like that, but that is actually the kind of gauge that my mom would use and everything when I was younger, like I'm in my 60s now. So like when I was in my 40s and 30s and everything like that, she would sometimes ask me and everything like that when the new relationships were being created or going about and everything like that. And I can honestly say that, except for maybe once or twice, the answer was no to answer your question earlier and everything like that. Because third question that you asked me is, if you're thinking about that particular person, does your heart flutter? Meaning like the same thought.
Did it or didn't? Did it or didn't?
Like that. And if it didn't flutter, then she'd be like, well, you need to walk away from that and everything like that. Because he would ask me, is your heart fluttering when you think of that?
But the problem is sometimes the souls, and this is what I'm thinking on a spiritual level, and I don't want to be too thick for people who don't believe, but sometimes the soul will recognize another soul. This is what they believe.
Right.
And so, but the person hasn't got caught up with their brain. And, you know, I used to say this as a kid, if you have something and it wants to leave, set it free.
Right.
If it comes back to you, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never meant to be. And, you know, I was a Girl Scout then, you know, just meeting these, you know, around different people that didn't look like me, but the way persons of non-color, the way they look at things. And that was the environment that I was in. And it was so funny. This person said, oh, you finally outside, you outside. So what do you mean by that? But what it meant was I wasn't outside with the people that look like me. So I was a little different. So I had to learn. And that was one of the reasons why there is a butterfly room, because I have a niece. My brother is not here. So if my brother, one of the things he said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I forgot that. My younger brother, 10 years younger than me. So his legacy lives alive when I say that, because now he has 3 babies and they're all different in their personalities. Right. So now as an auntie, mom T, you know, because I had 2 mom T's, a godmother, and adopted. So it took 4 mothers. So in my upcoming book, we'll talk about that, you know, how it raised so that I can morph. And in order for you to heal, you have to purge. And you may have to disclose some things, but I feel that sometimes we are just vessels. Everyone is here for a reason. As I said, Dr. Diamond, our meeting, you finally, that show, I was at church. I needed that anger phase to process with my mother. Remember the guests? And I thought I had healed, but I wasn't there. So think about the women who are there. And I like the clips because I've heard the different stories. As you said, I didn't want to, as a woman, you don't want to prejudge. But I looked at her, not trying to look at her nationality. There are people that I've met. There are people that I've worked with. And some of the stories I can't even say because of the show content that we're having, but I've heard a lot for people from that nationality. And in closed doors and without being, due to HIPAA, there are more stories that you don't know. They're groomed in different ways. They're groomed in different ways.
But you have to be open to understanding other people's cultures and why they do what they do. And it comes, a lot of it ties along with religion. And again, it's a deeper analysis than most people would do. And a lot of people know it because they're in it. Others are observers like us that'll see it on the outside. And the only way you will understand it is by asking for them to give you their story.
It's cultural differences. Yes. And we have cultural biases, definitely. But the point is, why are we judging anyone? That's the part that I like, that we have this platform to talk about it, because these people, we were seen and not heard in the 70s and 80s. We were seen and not heard. Look at these kids now. They will tell you, why are you doing something? Why? Oh, they're and their favorite word is weird. My son's like, you're being weird. So now I said, I wasn't being weird. You were a child. And there was a clip that I posted on the Butterfly Room. You have 17 years to be a child. After that, I think the professor had 70, and he put on the board. You have 70 years plus to be an adult. Enjoy this time now. Okay. But it's glorified to be an adult. And then there's kids that grow up and you already know what happens is fatalities and different things because they're not emotionally mature for that lifestyle that they begged for. And now they find a dad or a sugar dad, and now they want to go to be the kid that they missed being. That's what I saw on the couch.
Yeah, that's
right, Dr. Diamond. You said we study human behavior because we're listening, we're experiencing all of that. And then it's also in the theory. It's just that when we studied it, they didn't look like us when we were reading.
No, they didn't look like us at all and everything like that.
No, not at all. That's why I didn't like history. Now I'm sitting here bringing up names. I'm like, yeah, I did it because I was an honor student, but now I'm understanding because I picked and chose which histories I liked. So I'm sorry, I'm biased on that.
So April, just really quickly along those same lines, everything. I had some friends of mine that have, because we all have faults, mine is that I can sometimes have my moment of being more of a Oscar than a Felix and everything like that. So I had one friend of mine that was basically like, speaking of the dating world and the whole facade that people put out and mask and everything like that, they were like, well, if you knew that about yourself, because I had a friend came by and they realized the Oscar moments that I have versus the Felix moments, and they decided to walk away, and they had the right to do that and everything like that. But my friend was basically like, well, if you knew that about yourself, you could have come over to my house and we could have pretended like this was where you were at and everything like that. So how much of that mask taking do you think people should be dealing with? Because a lot of people will realize what their fault is, whether it's their household or whether it's their car, and they will put on either a physical or a imaginary mask. So I just wanted y'all's take on that.
Did you see that movie, The Substance? It has Demi Moore. It keeps popping up. Did you see The Substance with Demi Moore?
Yeah, I saw that movie.
And I'm still trying to understand that. I tried it. It's a little deep. That is deep.
It right, is Dr. deep. So I'm gonna answer Mark's question. I'm gonna try my best to answer your question, Mark. When it comes to a mask, right? I think we all know how to put one on. And again, we automatically put one on when we're first meeting someone, and I'm talking about in the dating world. You don't know this person, so you are not going to reveal everything. At least you shouldn't. Right. And I say that because you don't know necessarily the motive of the person, not even the motive. How do you know you're going to be seeing this person again? So now you're pouring out all of this information. To me, I think any date, and this is to anyone that will come back and listen to the replay, at any date, it should be fun. You should be having a good time the first time. Observation is fine. You got to see if that energy is there. And then you begin to say, all right, well, this might be a person I want to go ahead and go out and have dinner with again. Dinner or a movie or something, whatever it is. So you're getting to know.
Can I just interrupt you really quickly? Because it sounds to me the mistake that I made is that the first date, for lack of a better term, was on my territory and everything like that. To anybody that's listening, and I think that's what you're implying.
Well, what did you do? Can you tell us?
Most dates should be on neutral territory. They should be on neutral territory.
Neutral territory.
Right. Okay, but where did you go?
Absolutely.
Where did you go though? Because I since you opened the door, where you said you went on your territory, what was your territory?
They came to my house.
Right.
So see. And can we please go down this door? Yes.
Hold on, Tori. I'm not even going to go down that road with him. What Mark did was he took exactly what I just said, and now he realizes it should have been done differently. Right. So that's anyone. When you think that, hey, this is a good idea, and again, if no one is showing you what to do, giving you those pointers, and even if Mark did get those pointers, he's still the man to make his own decisions. Should I do this? Yeah, why not? You know, it's going to be harmless. Not knowing, you don't know this mask this person have on. You know, you have no idea. So yes, neutral ground is where you go. You're going to go out in public. Because here's the thing.
To answer your question.
Because I want to piggyback on that because somebody said I was too bougie. This is why I want to talk about it.
I was going to answer your question and everything like that. Just really quickly. This was a friend that was going through hard times. Now, I let them judge me because of the nature of the way that I keep the house and everything like that. So I was actually serving as a escape valve and everything like that because they were going through some very hard times. They had moved from one end of the country to the other end of the country because they had literally moved to DC and they were in trouble in DC. So I was actually opening myself up probably more than I needed to open myself up because I felt their crisis and everything like that. So I felt that they were in crisis mode and everything like that. So when they came here and then saw the messages, then that threw them off and everything like that. But in my defense, I saw them in crisis mode. So that's why I led them into a non-neutral
and that's okay because but it's good that you opened the door because this is a question that I wanted us to discuss eventually. Like you said, the person was known to you. So that case, we're going to go. Maybe you want to cook dinner or something. But I was told that I was bougie because a person wanted to cook. I prefer to cook because, you don't know what someone's putting in your body or whatever. And I'm at the point we can go Dutch at this point. I want to go to a neutral place or whatever, but I was talked to a servant because I know the person for years, but I'm like, I don't want to go to your house just for you to cook for me. I want to be on neutral ground, but I was saying I was being difficult. So why was someone saying I'm difficult if I wanted a neutral ground, even though you know me? We've been friends for years. However,
can I ask you a question? Did you proceed to meet with that person? Did you go to the person's house?
I talked to a family member and he kind of said, and he was a friend of him because it was a referral. All right. And
did you continue to speak with the person?
No, eventually no, because it was certain things.
But you said eventually. Was it how long?
Well, no, we did have dinner, but we ended up having dinner because for me, some people are homebodies, some people are there. To me, the compromise was not there. I like to go out, I like to do home stuff, but now not trying to be anything, I would have paid for the meal. He wouldn't even allow me to pay for the meal. I wanted to go out. He would just say he don't like to eat out in restaurants. So you understand the compatibility is, I want to go at least maybe once a month or something, but he wanted to be home and all that. That's why it didn't work. Then there were some other things. You're involved in this organization. I don't like this organization. And the person has a master's going for a doctorate and teaches.
So I want to stop you. How long was this going on before you said, no, I'm done? How long?
Maybe 2 dates. And then 2 dates. It was just,
2 dates.
I knew that it wasn't going to work.
Okay. You actually knew that day one. It's just that you wanted to see what was next. So again, this goes to what we do.
Because they said I was bougie. So I was like, well, let me see. But on paper, it looked like it would be nice.
But why would you allow someone to, because they call you bougie, what you have to prove it to yourself that you're not? Because of what he stated? No,
because he was a good friend. A good friend, and
I don't care if he's a good friend or not. He calls you bougie. That has nothing to do with him. And furthermore, if you are a bougie person, again, that's you. That's a part of your personality. If he doesn't like it, that is his problem, not yours. But can you compromise and negotiate on things? Of course you can. But the problem is that a lot of the times, and again, there's nothing wrong with adjusting in a relationship, but it has to be adjustments on both sides. You can't adjust and the other person does not. That makes it unequal. Then all of a sudden then the yoke becomes bigger on one side and small on the other side, and then here comes the problems. And then
and now the person's retired, law enforcement, and so and now my family member tried to introduce you to somebody. No, I would have been like, I felt that I would have been not myself. So that would have been again, and the reason why I shared this story, Mark, is because I could have been kept. But I said no.
Yeah, you could have been a kept woman, and there's definitely kept women out there and everything like that. But I want to come back to something you said earlier, because that is something that, and it goes back to the price tag and everything, because you kind of alluded to it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because it comes back to the price tag. How much is it an important factor for people to have the like-minded organizations and everything like that? I know that I am not an active member, but I have been a member in the past of NABJ, which is National Association of Black Journalists, and I've been associated with other groups. I've got friends, including your husband, April, that are part of their Greek organizations, and I know that some of you are involved in things like Eastern Star and other groups and everything like that. But do you feel that people have to be, one, willing to accept those organizations, but do they necessarily have to be fans of the organizations? Because that's kind of coming back to what Toya was saying, because the person wasn't a fan of, say, the Eastern Stars and everything like that and everything. But I don't know that you necessarily have to be a fan in order to be in the relationship. But
the point here,
you also need to understand that that's part of the person's lifestyle and part of their background.
Correct. This person was a former member that I didn't know at that time. I wasn't involved, but he was older. And that's where I feel that a person has certain things. If you really like a person, I'm just volunteering my time or whatever. If you know the person is a steward, that's the compromise. I'm going to go out. I'm not saying I'm going to do it all the time, but you know what? Come out with me. But I think that what I've noticed with people that I have worked with, those are two, like you said, the yoke is different. And they're trying to take a round pole and put in a square peg in a round hole. It's not going to work. And then from there, that's when the marriages don't work. You have to have counseling. But again, anyone who goes to church, that's why they have premarital counseling. You need to speak to someone, just talk about your compatibility. And sometimes we don't look at that. Love is love. However, do you pay your bills on time? Do you sleep this way? Do you like the temperature up? No, I've seen couples, they had to go get one of those beds. One goes up, one goes down. I said, that's an easy fix in a relationship. That's I want this, and it's so hot in here. Why don't you get the bed that has a chill because of that?
Chill on the other
side.
Love
a person.
But that's what I was going at and everything, because I don't know that you necessarily have to be and I'm just going to use them as an example because I've got family members that are part of this. I don't know if you have to be an AK or a Delta or even a Q or a Kappa in order to be involved with people in that kind of background, but you need to respect their love of that and everything like that. So that's what I was going at and everything like that, because you might not be a Eastern Star or a Lynx or something like that, but you also need to understand what they are doing and have respect for their love of it and everything like that. And maybe even go to the events. You may wind up joining the organization.
And sometimes it's generational lineages too. You have to think there are people, if Omega Psi Phi, I know a family is like 5 generations. Right. My niece will be a 5th generation Eastern Star. So really it's respect. And sometimes the organizations, I feel people look at the people's behavior, but there is doctrine. As you said, that is basically paper. It's whatever it is, this is what we're going to follow. Human behavior has nothing to do with the organization, but people want to put the two together. No, it's that's a whole nother conversation that I know Dr. Diamond will open up or Gene Geronimo or Mark will talk about. But thank you for that.
Well, I'm gonna play this last little clip, and I already know that we're gonna have a part 2. This is gonna be in 2 weeks. We're gonna pick up from where we left off because I have a lot of other questions that I want us to discuss. So this was a very good discussion. So I'm gonna play this last clip before we end for the day, and this one is very short. So let's take
our homework.
Bam. Because damn. They stop fucking playing with me in these fucking restaurants without around these fucking people. Goddamn, I step there, I take that plate and smash it in your goddamn face on your birthday. And then goddamn it, I went over there and goddamn made shit. Hold on. What you just did? Say something. Say something. In my face? Say it again. Say something. I'm gonna give you 5 to say something. Chill out. Fool. No. Chill out. No. Happy birthday. Pussy.
So, did you see the behavior that was displayed here, right? So I'm going to take this one. This one, all 3 of these is what Dean sent me, and I guess he watched that last one, right? There was some disrespect there. You know, this man, he was eating his food. She mushed him on the side of his head. You couldn't hear a whole lot of what was being said, but I think there was more like the beginning of that clip. So at this point, he felt disrespected. So he retaliated by giving her a taste of her own medicine. So what do you two think about that? Because that's exactly what really what happened. She became aggressive towards him. And I don't know if it was about the bill. I don't know what it was, but I'll tell you what, she had no right to do that. What do you two think?
You don't do things like that in public. And I'm just saying, as a person of color, we're not ignorant or anything. Like, it's the first thing at home training was you don't do stuff out there like that. Number two, sometimes when you have anger management issues, you need to be aware of what your anger management issues are, because at that point, that should have never happened. And then it could have ended up causing you a go to jail for free card for the day. You don't do things like that. You can get banned, and just having some self-respect. But however, in that particular case, this is what goes on at home. You see people, either you abuse, you become the abuser. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. That's a loaded thing. However, you're doing a public display of crazy. And sometimes a man, they'll forget where they are. Ike and Tina Turner, not trying to bring that up, but when there is domestic violence, to me, that kind of said that to me. I could be wrong, because there was no self-control. And I just know that you don't want it. And if there's anyone else there, and then now everything is on. What if you have children? Now that's going to go out there in the world. So that's where I'm just, Big Brother is watching. That's a no-no. And if that's your relationship, y'all need some help.
They needed big time help. And like I said, that was supposedly one of their birthdays and everything like that. And birthdays are supposed to be a time where you get respect and then get some honor and everything like that, because you done made it to another year around the moon and everything like that. So you definitely have another year around the sun. That's the expression. Everything like that. So you made another year around the sun. So that was totally disrespectful. And I've seen incidences like that before, but definitely you don't need to have that happen in a public environment and everything like that. I know I went to a fair not that long ago that was about a political group and everything like that, and they were trying to get some networking going on, and the owner of the venue was not happy with the people that were doing the event, and they were being disrespectful and yelling at each other, and it kind of took a taste out of the event and everything like that. So I'm also thinking about the impact it was having on the other patrons that were there, because they saw it also and everything like that. And yeah, I've been involved in those situations, like I said, because that's supposed to be about honoring that year anniversary, because I know that on my I'm 64 now, so on my 50th birthday, somebody tried to plan a party for me and everything like that, but they didn't do enough of the consulting with the family, so it became like their party and everything like that. So we also don't know if that's what happened, is that maybe they weren't even willing to be that particular environment, that particular restaurant, and the woman may have picked a restaurant that they didn't even have in their mind and everything like that. Because I know one time when somebody was planning a party and it was becoming more a party for them than it was a party for me and everything like that. So there's also something that people have to think about, is when you're planning these things, make sure that you are planning them with the person that is being honored in mind and not with your own ego.
Yeah. Amen to that. So we are like to the end of our show here. Of course, we are going to have our closing remarks, but I want to tell our listeners that in 2 weeks, we will pick up from where we left off, because there is more to this discussion, because I think it's a heavy discussion that people do not have. And I do want to delve into in our next discussion about the trauma that goes along with some of these behaviors, because I do want to bring that psychological aspect into it, because there are behaviors that people display. And again, it comes with that price tag. So when we do come back, it is going to be, why do relationships feel like they come with a price tag, part 2. And we will be discussing that. And then in parentheses, it will be, is trauma connected? So we are going to delve into that conversation a little deeper and have some more examples. And, again, having that male voice is very important. So thank you again, Mark, because, you're one of my co-hosts, of course, but you don't sit back and not speak. And that's important, that the male point of view and the male voice is heard, even looking at these clips, what does that feel like? He's telling you, what does that feel like? What was that like for him? So, thank you for that. And then possibly, Dean will join us because he had some things going on today. Nika did have things going on with her today. So I thank her also for reaching out, and we do miss her. So I would love to hear her perspective on this as well when we get back together. But other than that, we'll start with our closing remarks. So Toya, I'm going to start with you. Your closing remarks for today.
This was needed. And I know sometimes, as we said, we're going to talk about stuff that's not traditional. We're going to speak to what the climate is. We're going to give you the information on the couch. And as you know, Dr. Diamond and I have been working in the fields. I'm striving to that level, but I am doing my dissertation unofficially because I study human behavior. And when you hear all these things, we're just bringing it to you to the surface. Because right now, you want to be the change. And I feel that now with the climate of the world right now, we are responsible for our babies, the people that we love. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I was trying to get into about what's on our plate. You get up every day and you take on what's in front of you. And sometimes we go through doors that are not open for us. We need to stop that because we damage ourselves. If you have received some type of trauma in your life, as Dr. Diamond stated, those triggers can be that. And thank you for saying that, because I was not there. If you would have asked me that question 10 years ago, you would have got a different answer. But today I can say that we have to heal what our issues are. And as a cycle breaker, that's why we are here. That's what we use as platform form. We have folks that intermingle with us. And guess what? We have to bet on ourselves so that we can be successful and be healthy for our next generations. I am the only child of my mother. My son has not given me an heir yet. So I am working on my legacy. And I think that if everyone worked on their legacy of their lineage, thank you, Mark, for sharing that earlier, of 2 children. So you have to think about that. My grandmother had 8 kids. But when you look at that, we don't have kids like that now because it's expensive and it can't be done. But we have to water and love on who we are and who we have. Tomorrow, as a believer, is Resurrection Sunday. And for those who know, look at those 7 words of what Jesus said. So thank you again for the time, and hope to see you all next Friday at 8 for the Butterfly Room. We will have Marlon E. Curtis II. And I hope, well, we already know Mark is the producer, but Dr. Diamond, hope to see you. And thank you for allowing me to speak and opening the morphing process and helping me complete that. And you all have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, you are up.
Definitely, it is Easter Sunday coming up tomorrow. So definitely those that are believers, definitely hope y'all have great services and everything along those lines, because it is definitely an important part of what goes on in life is our spiritual and our religious connections and everything like that. I've said that on other shows and this show as well, because it's definitely important for us to be aligned in all these ways that we can be aligned, whether that's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and all the other ways that are part of the alignment and everything like that. And definitely a lot of people are worried about what's going on in their fiscal identity and everything like that. I had earlier mentioned when we first started the show about what was going on with Dawn Staley and Gino and everything like that. And there's a lot of women that are about to get into a lot of money and everything like that. And I did see Flavor Flav at the game and everything along those lines, because he was in the audience and was definitely talking to some of the commentators and everything like that. But they're about to come into a lot of money. And as they come into this money, they're going to have to figure out ways to be fiscally responsible, just like their male counterparts have to be fiscally responsible as well. And I'm sure that just like the games are played with the man athletes, there are probably games played with the women athletes as well, including some of the ways that they are dealt with in terms of relationships and everything like that. Because for a lot of them, this is new money for them, and they don't necessarily have the fiscal capabilities or the fiscal knowledge that they need and everything like that. So that can play into what goes on into their relationships, whether it is same-sex relationships or whether it is relationships with a man, because we do know that there are both straight and non-straight players in the WNBA and in women's basketball and all along those lines. So these conversations also go into the various relationships. So it's not just the men and women relationships, but it's also the relationships between men and women if they're in that space for whatever reasons they may be in that space. And we won't even talk about polyamory and some of the other kinds of relationships where it definitely becomes a factor, the price tag and everything like that, because it's not a cheap form of relationships, and sometimes they are trying to have multiple partners and everything like that. So that can also be very expensive as well. So that's something that we can talk about on the other parts of what's going on, because there are different relationships that you can have, and they also sometimes have price tags with them as well, because those price tags are very real. And last but not least, as the one of the older statesmen here on this show and everything along those lines, another part of the price tag that folks have to watch out for, I know that I've mentioned it before, and it's definitely been hit by it, and I've got friends that have been hit by it as well and everything like that. May December relationships are cool and everything, if that's what you are able to successfully do, and if that's a true relationship, because I do have some friends that have got younger spouses or younger relationships and everything like that. But there is also a price tag thing that goes on in that community as well, and I've talked about it before, but folks, be aware and alert for the catfishers. The catfishers are out there, and they are very real and all along those lines, and they will try to milk you of what money you do have. And sometimes that might be physical cash, or it might be property, or it might be another of other targets that catfishers will go after you for. Because if you follow social media and look at Instagram, you'll see that there are tons of folks out there that are trying to exploit the situations, and they will try to exploit it any ways that they can, whether that's through sexing or whether that's through catfishing and a number of other things as well. So that is another price tag that folks have to be aware of.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. So I'm going to state my closing remarks, but you two, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to drop you all in the back into the studio. So as always, we thank you here for joining us on the couch, and hopefully you did get something out of what we discussed today. Why do relationships feel like they come with a price tag? They should not come with a price tag at all. However, as we talked about the society conditioning as a whole, what does that look like? How has that infiltrated the way that we think about things now from versus back in the day to now, looking at the differences. So, in our second segment of this, we're going to delve in deep about this, especially what is along with it. If there is trauma along with it, what is that looking like? We discussed many facets here, people wearing a mask. What are the flags, the red flags that you're looking for? If there are red flags that you're looking for, what happened in the early stages of certain relationships? What are you looking at? And these three particular clips, they're very different, but they all seem to have the same basis of someone being used or played or whatever there is. It's like this man is being mistreated, and we know women have been in that same position where they're being used and mistreated. So again, we get a chance to look and analyze and talk about this on a deeper level. So definitely part 2, if you come back, join us there, and we'd love to hear your comments about what we discussed. Don't forget to, hear our playback on one of your favorite platforms. You can definitely catch us on YouTube. We are on the couch with Dr. Diamond. You can find us there on YouTube, on Facebook. You can find us there as well, on the couch with Dr. Diamond as well. So again, our goal here is to educate, educate, educate. So I hope you were able to walk away with something. So enjoy your wonderful weekend, that beautiful sun out there. It is Easter weekend. Enjoy your services. If you are a believer to go to church, please go on and enjoy that. Enjoy your families. Usually, as a community of Black people, we celebrate by getting together, having a wonderful meal. I remember those when I was growing up. So I hope you enjoy your meal with your family. Have conversations, have some healthy conversations with your family. What does that look like growing and prospering? And what does the next generation look like? These are the times to take that conversation and run with it. So again, we thank you so much for joining us here on the couch. We hope you learned something, and catch us in 2 weeks. And again, we'll be talking about about why do relationships feel like they come with a price tag, and we will be relating it with trauma. So we will be talking to you again in 2 weeks. And remember, don't forget the butterfly room. Check that out. And we will see you soon. And I know Mark's show is also on Wednesdays, so you can check him out as well. So don't forget about him, because you see him on our show, but he has his own shows as well. And we want to support. Our goal is to support Black. That's what we do. Of anyone of color, we are here to support each other. Let's go back to what we know. Let's grow. Let's thrive. And again, peace, love, and tranquility. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of On the Couch. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found it as enlightening and inspiring as I did. Remember, the stories and experiences we share here are just the beginning of a much larger journey. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, look for the notification on Facebook, and find us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us keep the conversation going and reach more listeners just like you. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep the dialogue alive. Peace, love, and tranquility. Take care, and we'll see you on the couch.